and the sidewalk right before the door is a huge pile stained on the concrete of what appears to be blood, and over it is a what also appears to be a bloody wife beater in the same pool. So part of being an audio engineer, I just happen to have a lot of gear on me sometimes for no reason. And one time, me and this group were going down to Cleveland for a show. For that day, for some reason, I happen to have things on me, microphones, cables, interface, things ready to do a mobile recording setup, basically. And at the show, we get there, and they're doing sound check, and the DJ's having some issues, can't get the sound going, can't get the microphone hooked up, and all my friends are looking at me like, oh, why don't you go help? And I'm like, oh, I really do not want to do this right now. When you're not working, you don't want to work. But sometimes you got to step up and step in. So I go up to the DJ, and I'm like, hey, man, what kind of problems are you having? He's like, oh, this microphone, it's okay. I'll get it figured out. I'll get this working. And I go, all right, let me do this real quick. And I just pull all this stuff out of my backpack, plug this in here, go run this cable up here, put this microphone here, plug this in. I go, all right, hit play. Hits play, of course, it all starts working. I'm like, all right, great. And then I ended up running sound for almost the rest of the show. But the funny part is that after the show, I was feeling a certain type of way about it, and I decided to text the DJ. Thought I was being funny, and I said, hey, man, nice show, great working with you tonight. What's your Cash App? And he gave me his Cash App, and then I promptly requested money from him on Cash App that night. I don't think he ever paid it, but that was really funny that happened. Sometimes we have some really, really cool sessions. You work with some really cool people. And sometimes you have some kind of interesting nightmare scenarios that happen. And when you're here alone in the studio and you're the only engineer here, you kind of got to make sure everything is going to plan. If there's too many people here, people are getting too rowdy, that's kind of on you to make sure all that stays within its limits. And so this one time, I was working with a few artists. Late at night, I took a late session, and they brought a lot of people with them. And of course, they're hanging out, they're drinking, they're not really paying attention to what's going on work-wise with the music. There's a few people recording, but everyone else is kind of just hanging out, having a party. Some kind of altercation happened with some of the people that were here, and it started to get a little rowdy. Some people started arguing with some people, turns into yelling, and then I have to turn around and go, what's going on here? And eventually I have to call in the person who is here to work and pay for the session. I go, hey, all these people you brought, they all got to go. And I pointed around and I said, you can stay, everyone else has to go. And kicked them all out. The person who was here paying for the session was very apologetic about it. And I said, don't worry, things like that happen. But anyway, we finished up the session, and we went home. As I'm heading out to the parking lot, I'm locking up. I see them all hanging out in the parking lot, say quick highs real quick, and then I head home. And then I come in the next morning, and I'm the first one in the studio in the morning. And as I'm walking in to the front door, on the sidewalk right before the door is a huge pile stained on the concrete of what appears to be blood, and over it is what also appears to be a bloody wife beater in the same pool. And I'm like, my immediate thought was, oh my God, who got hurt? Who got whatever happened to them? It looked just like blood, and I was so concerned from my client, who happened to also be wearing that wife beater the previous night. So I'm trying to call him. It's 2 in the morning. He's not picking up. I'm like, are you okay? I'm texting him. I'm calling the studio manager. I'm like, hey, here's what's going on. He's like, you should probably call the police. I call Syracuse police. I tell them what's going on. They're going to send an officer. And while I'm waiting for the officer, because they're taking a while to get there, I'm just trying to call people and figure out who saw what and what's going on. And eventually, I finally hear back from one of the people I knew there that night, and they finally call me back. They're like, blood? No, man, that's not blood. Someone just ate way too much flaming hot Cheetos and threw up everywhere. And that's what that looks like all on the ground there. And I'm like, that's disgusting. But also, I'm happy everyone is okay. Then Syracuse police comes. Syracuse police officer gets out of the car. They're like, "So you got to pull blood." And I go, "Well, actually, it's not blood. Never mind. You could go." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Apparently, someone threw up flaming hot Cheetos everywhere." And they go, "That's gross." And then they left. To this day, I still know some people that speculate it really was blood, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It was just something that was really gross, and it eventually washed away. And it's a fun studio story to tell.